Hello, hello, hello. All right, guys, we're having tech issues again. I don't know why the sound is not working. So I'm going to fiddle around with that a little bit. Try to figure out what the heck is going on. My computer has been super weird. So I don't know. I'm hoping I won't have to reset it. Yeah. So I don't know what is going on with it. I should have saved. Yeah, like stuff is not even popping up on here. Okay. Hello, hello, hello. Come on. Why is this doing this? Jeez, oh Pete. Apologies, guys. Trying to work through this. Gosh, dang it. I'm not sure what the heck is going on. Might have to disconnect these. Okay. It says my mic is unplugged. It is not. All sound devices. Sorry for the delay, boys and girls. Okay. But for some reason, it's showing the headphones as the mic, which is not true. Devices, and there's my microphone. Showing up. Barely registering. Sorry, guys and gals. I'm gonna go to the main board, but it's not allowing it. Hello? Hello, hello? Go back. At least it's not freezing up on me again. Okay. Mono audio. Sound settings. Okay. Over here. Alright. Playback headphones. Sorry, guys. It looks like it's picking me up now. I don't know. Look at my Bluetooth really quick. Try to add connected. The music is playing, but I can't hear it. I do not know why. Audio. Speaker. That should be. I don't know why I can't hear anything, but that's all good. Let me turn down this storytime music really quick. Welcome crew, guys, gals, ghouls, friends, fiends, foes, new listeners, whoever's listening out there beyond the Omniverse tonight. Secure your tinfoil hats, buckle down tight, and hold on loosely as we soar over the rocky tops of the La Platas on a rocky mountain high, get sucked into the vortex of the Four Corners, and settle down snugly at mile marker 420 in colorful Colorado. It is Sunday, December 10th, Monday, December 11th for those of you across the pond and beyond. Good morning, good afternoon, and good to you, and thank you for joining us on We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. So I'm your host, TessaTNT, and we are broadcasting live from Mile High Clubhouse tonight, and it has been cold. Hose are staying warm wherever you are at. Had to put on my Jack Skellington thermal jammies because, man, even the sweatshirt wasn't helping. It was pretty bad indeed. Listening live right now, you may be listening to us on KPNL Radio, which you can find on KPNL Radio at kpnl-db.com. You can also find us on eTalk Radio, which you can find at etalk.tv/radio. And as well as Spreaker under We Are Paradox Media. If you like to watch, you can tune in to us at YouTube. Let me make sure this is coming through. Awesome. On YouTube under We Are Paradox Media, as well as Facebook, We Are Paradox Media, and Twitch. We Are Paradox Media 101 could just be We Are Paradox Media. I'm not sure. It's hard for me to find anything over there. If you like to listen to us in your free time, whether you're working it, or working out, tune in basically under any podcast app that you use to listen to any of your other podcasts. So tonight is just us reading from this amazing book. We started to read on this a little bit last night because it was a little late. Poor guy wasn't feeling well and had forgotten that we had scheduled, but luckily he made it. But yeah, he's not feeling well, so if you guys could put some positive energy out there for him, that would be epic. Alright, so let's continue on with The World's Most Evil Psychopaths, Horrifying True-Life Cases by John Marlowe. It's been a pretty good book. I got this, inherited it from my grandpa when he had passed. We actually started this story yesterday, but I wanted to start all over just in case you guys weren't there for it. And we will be reading about Dr. H.H. Holmes, who was originally named Herman Webster Mudgett, aka H.H. Holmes, was a notorious insurance murderer who killed up to 27 people, many of them at the World's Columbian Exposition of 1893. He was executed in 1895. So that's H.H. Holmes right there. It is not correct, as it is often claimed, that H.H. Holmes was America's first serial killer. Both the Bloody Benders, a Kansas family of serial killers, and the Servant Girl Annihilator preceded him. He did, however, kill more people than the Servant Girl Annihilator and all the members of the Bender family put together. The claim that Holmes was the most prolific American serial killer of all time remains an issue of some debate. The man who history remembers as H.H. Holmes was born Herman Webster Mudgett on 16th of May, 1860, in Gilmanton, New Hampshire. Nearly a century and a half later, the town numbers barely more than 3,000 inhabitants. It is perhaps most famous as having served as a model for Grace Metalius's Peyton Place, the setting for the 1956 novel of the same name. Holmes grew up in an impoverished family with an abusive alcoholic father at its head.
School provided only a partial escape. While an intelligent and handsome boy, he was also a frequent victim of bullying. He once claimed that as a child he had been forced by his classmates to touch a human skeleton. It was an event that appeared to haunt him for the rest of his life. Nevertheless, he sought to become a medical doctor and developed a fascination with anatomy. As an adolescent, this interest found expression in his killing and dismembering of stray animals. At 16, he graduated from school and managed to get teaching positions first in Gilmanton and later in nearby Alton, New Hampshire. It was there that he met Clara Levering. The ardor between them was such that the two eloped. However, in marriage, that same passion quickly dissipated, and he soon abandoned his wife. Still intent on a career in medicine, he attended the University of Vermont. It was, however, too small for his liking. In September 1882, he enrolled at the University of Michigan at Ann Arbor, which held what was considered to be one of the country's leading medical schools. 2 years later, he graduated with what are best described as lackluster grades. After graduating, Muddett adopted as his name the more distinguished-sounding Henry Howard Holmes. He took up a position as prescription clerk in a pharmacy owned by a terminally ill doctor named Holton. He endeared himself to Holton's wife and customers. When the good doctor passed away, Holmes offered to buy the pharmacy, promising the newly made widow $100 a month. After signing over the deed, Mrs. Holton subsequently disappeared. Holmes claimed she had settled with relatives in California. Under Holmes, the pharmacy thrived in the growing Inglewood neighborhood of Chicago. In 1887, he married Myrta Z. Belknap, a stunning young woman whom he had met during a business trip to Minneapolis. She remained unaware that Holmes had been married before and that he had not obtained a divorce. In their third year of marriage, Myrta bore a daughter named Lucy.
Those little potatoes, when they have tentacles growing on them, you cut off the tentacles, they're fine, right?
Yeah. All right. By this time, she had already returned to the home of her parents. Though Holmes would never seek a divorce, the union was all but over. Using the pharmacy as his base, Holmes continued to engage in a number of questionable business ventures he had begun several years before. However, his most notable achievement was the construction of a block-long, 3-story building on the site across the street from his pharmacy. Built over a 3-year period, the castle, as the locals dubbed it, included a ground floor which Holmes rented out to various shopkeepers. Upper 2 stories Holmes kept for himself. A huge space that was a confusing maze of over 100 windowless rooms, secret passageways, false floors, and stairways that led to nowhere. Some doors could only be opened from the outside, while others opened to reveal nothing but a brick wall. During construction, Holmes repeatedly changed contractors, ensuring that no one understood the design of the building or had any idea of its ultimate purpose. Beginning shortly after the completion of the castle, and for 3 years that followed, Holmes murdered dozens of women. Some he tortured in soundproof chambers, fitted with gas lines that enabled him to asphyxiate his victims. The corpses were sent down to a secret chute to the castle's basement. There, Holmes would dissect them, just as he had the animals he killed in his adolescence. They would be stripped of flesh and sold as skeleton models to medical schools. Some bodies were cremated or thrown in pits of lime and acid. One of the first to die was Julia Connor, the wife of a jeweler to whom Holmes had rented a shop. After she came to Holmes with the news that she was pregnant with his child, the doctor murdered Julia and her daughter Pearl. Holmes saw great opportunity in Chicago's upcoming 1893 World's Columbian Exposition and made several modifications to the second story of the castle, transforming it into the World's Fair Motel, or hotel. The first guests arrived in the spring of 1893. Some returned home, others did not. With a high volume of guests, Holmes could be selective in choosing his victims. The fact that so many of his guests and so many people were coming to the fair without any place to stay ensured that his activities were unnoticed. One of those who remained alive was Georgiana York, who became Holmes' third wife in January 1894. She believed Holmes to be a very wealthy man with property in Texas and Europe. Indeed, he appeared to be quite prosperous. However, his debts had begun to catch up with him. After having been confronted by his creditors, he came up with a scheme which involved a man named Benjamin Peetzel. As a carpenter, Peetzel had worked on the castle. Exactly how much he knew of Holmes' activities is a matter of some debate. What is certain is that Peetzel agreed to fake his own death in order to collect a large insurance claim. In the end, Holmes simply killed the man and kept all the money for himself. He then made off with 3 of Peetzel's children. On 17 November 1894, having been on the road for nearly 2 years, Holmes was arrested in Boston. Initially, he was suspected of nothing more than fraud. However, an insurance agent's diligence in attempting to track down the 3 Peetzel children revealed that they had been killed in the cities of Indianapolis and Toronto. This news encouraged the police in Chicago to investigate Holmes's castle. On 20 July 1895, all was revealed. The police spent a month investigating what some now called the murder castle, before, on 19 August, it was consumed by a fire of mysterious origin. Exactly how many poor souls Holmes murdered is a mystery. The number has typically been estimated as being between 100. The authorities put the murder count at 27, in Chicago, Philadelphia, Indianapolis, and Toronto. The police in Chicago noted that many of the bodies in the basement of the castle had been dissected and burnt to such an extent that it was difficult to determine precisely how many bodies it contained. At his trial, Holmes confessed to 27 murders. Holmes was led to the gallows morning of 7 May 1896. As he watched the preparations of his hanging, he was reported to have said, "Take your time, don't bungle it." However, despite the hangman's care, Holmes died an agonizing death. For 10 minutes after the trapdoor was sprung, his body twitched. He was officially pronounced dead after he had been hanging for 15 minutes. Sounds like karma, and she's a bitch, but I love her for it. A new century of violence. The early part of the 20th century saw war fought on a previously unimaginable scale, in the air and in the trenches. Chemical warfare was employed, civilians became targets, and stories of horrific atrocities were spread as propaganda. By the end of the fighting, more than 9 million civilians and soldiers had been killed. Perhaps it was contagious, as if a reflection of the war incidents of psychopathic killing rapidly increased. Bela Kiss. Bela Kiss was one of the most loved and respected men in the small Hungarian town of Szentkoda. When he left to fight for the Austro-Hungarian army in the First World War, many townsfolk prayed for his safe return. Kiss had lived in Szentkoda, a part of present-day Budapest, since 1800. A handsome, blue-eyed, blonde-haired 23-year-old, married to a beautiful woman named Marie. His arrival in the town had not gone unnoticed. Kiss and his wife rented a house on the outskirts of town, from which he practiced as a tinsmith. He taught himself the trade and, in fact, had had no formal schooling whatsoever. The impressive and inexpensive knowledge he possessed in the areas of art, literature, history, and astronomy was the result of years of intense study. Among the inhabitants of Szentkoda, he was considered a highly educated man. Kiss was also known for his generosity. Though dedicated and hardworking, he was famous locally for the wonderful parties he would hold at the local hotel. Town gossips, however, became aware that things weren't quite as they appeared. Marie had begun having an affair with an artist. In 1912, Kiss announced that she had run off with her lover. Overnight, Kiss was transformed from jilted husband to the most desirable bachelor in town. Kiss hired one Mrs. Jacobek, a housekeeper, to care for his home while he focused on his trade. He also entered into correspondences with several young women. It was not long before a number of single attractive women began visiting his Sincata home. This steady parade prompted gossip of a different sort. As each woman passed through town on the way to the tinsmith's home, there was speculation as to whether this might be the next Mrs. Kiss. It seemed, however, that Kiss was having no luck in finding a suitable mate. Most women were seen in his company only once. Mrs. Jacobek would later say that she had never had the opportunity to any of her employer's visitors. By the latter half of 1914, when Kiss left to serve in the First World War, no replacement for the unfaithful Marie had been found. Mrs. Jacobek was left alone in the house, and yet neither she nor the townsfolk heard anything from Kiss. As the war progressed, rumors began to circulate that the popular figure had been taken as a prisoner of war. There was some speculation that Kiss had been killed in some unnamed battle. By the end of the second year, the lease had lapsed on the house Kiss had begun renting some 16 years before. It was at this point that a rather gruesome discovery was made, one that transformed Kiss from a thoroughly respected citizen of Sincata into the town's greatest monster. Although there are two very different accounts of the events leading up to Kiss's unmasking, both involve 6 sealed metal drums that he had lined up outside his home. One story relies on the memory of something Kiss had supposedly told a town constable. When asked in the early months of 1914 what the mysterious metal drums contained, the tinsmith revealed that he was hoarding a petrol in the anticipation that war would soon be declared. In this version, the constable, thinking the fuel would be of use in the fighting, contacted the military, who in turn pried open the drums. The other story has it that Kiss's landlord came upon the drums while preparing to rent out the property. Curious as to their contents, he punctured one of the drums and was met with a nauseating smell. Kiss's neighbor, a chemist, was convinced that the scent was that of rotting human flesh. According to this version, it was the authorities who, under Charles Nagy, the chief detective of the Budapest police, opened the drums. Whatever the chain of events, both led to the same horrible discovery. Each drum contained the corpse of a naked young woman. A search of the property Kiss had rented revealed a further 18 bodies, including that of the adulteress Marie Kiss. All 24 victims had been preserved in wood alcohol, which aided greatly in identification. Nagy immediately informed the military, advising that Kiss be arrested. Mrs. Jacobek, who had protested so strongly against the drums being opened, was detained. Suspicion of the housekeeper deepened when it was discovered that she was the main beneficiary in Kiss's will. Proclaiming her innocence, Mrs. Jacobek led police to a room her employer had forbidden her to enter. It was no chamber of horrors. No further bodies were found, as some had expected. Indeed, Kiss's forbidden room contained a few bookcases, a large desk, and a chair. At first looked quite innocent, however, its sinister purpose was quickly revealed. The bookcases were filled with volumes on the subject of strangulation and poisons. The desk held correspondence with 74 women, including letters going back as far as 13 years. There were marriage proposals, love letters, and photographs. Through notices he'd placed in the personal columns of various newspapers, Kiss had been swindling women seeking husbands. The tinsmith had selected his victims with great care. Each victim met 2 criteria: an abundance of wealth and an absence of relatives. In other words, he desired moneyed women who would not be missed if they happened to disappear. Among his victims were Katerine Varga, a very wealthy young widow who sold a thriving dressmaking business in order to be with her prospective husband in Sincata. The mother of another young woman, Margaret Toth had given Kiss money after he had promised to marry her daughter. On a subsequent visit to Syncada, the fiancé asked the young Miss Toth to write to her mother with the news that she was running off to the United States. Evidence indicates that Kiss then strangled the young woman and posted the letter. Not all of Kiss's victims had been killed. It seemed that the metal drums and on the Syncada property represented a fate that befell only women who had become troublesome. Indeed, records indicated that two of Kiss's victims, Julianne Paschek and Elizabeth Kamerami, had initiated separate court actions after he had taken their money under false pretenses. The bodies of both complainants were found buried close to his home. On 4 October 1916, as Nagy's investigation was set to enter the third month, the detective received word from the Serbian hospital that in 1915, Kiss had succumbed to typhoid. Shortly after, a second message arrived from Serbia stating that Kiss was alive, recuperating in the very same institution. Nagy refilled and traveled immediately to the hospital, arriving to find a corpse in Kiss's bed, the body of a dead soldier who was quite obviously not the murderer. Nagy was certain that Kiss had somehow been tipped off and hoped to throw off the police by placing a dead man in his bed. While the tinsmith may not have been successful in fooling the chief detective of Budapest, his escape was effective. The trail was cold and was warmed only occasionally by rumor and speculation. In 1919, he was supposedly spotted in Budapest. The following year, it was reported that he was serving under the alias Hoffman in the French Foreign Legion. One unconfirmed report was that he was in the Romanian prison serving time on a charge of burglary. Another had it that Kiss died in Turkey after contracting yellow fever. The most intriguing of all these sightings occurred in 1932 when a New York Police Department homicide detective named Henry Oswald thought he saw Kiss exiting the Times Square subway station. Known as Camera Eye, owing to his flawless memory for faces, Oswald followed the man he thought was Kiss, but lost him in the crowd. He never saw the man again. The Axemen of New Orleans. Ooh, I think I heard of this story. I read it before. On the evening of 19 March 1919, residents of New Orleans sat in bars and restaurants listening to live bands, confident that the music being played, jazz, was protecting them from violent murder. It was just one of many evenings made bizarre by the Axemen of New Orleans, a serial killer who, literally and figuratively, struck randomly in Louisiana's largest city in the early part of the 20th century. The mystery of the Axeman of New Orleans begins in two modest flats that once stood at the back of a grocery store at the corner of Upper Line and Magnolia Streets. In one flat lived Andrew Maggio, a barber, and his brother Jake. The other served as home to a third brother, Joseph, and Catherine, his wife. It was in fact Joseph and Catherine's grocery store and bar that separated the flats from the street. In the early hours of 23 May 1918, Jake was awoken by a sound, a sort of groaning, coming from Joseph and Catherine's apartment. At first, he tried to get the couple's attention by knocking on the wall. There was no response. He woke Andrew, and together the two brothers went over to the adjacent flat. They immediately came upon the sign of a break-in, a wooden panel that had been chiseled out of the kitchen door. Entering the apartment by the same point as the intruder, the pair rushed to the bedroom. There they came upon Catherine, lying across the bed. Her skull was caved in, and her throat was so deeply cut that she was very nearly decapitated. Beneath, their sister-in-law, bathed in her blood, lay their brother Joseph. He, too, had been attacked. His head was cut open in several places, yet the grocer was still alive. When he saw his brothers, Joseph attempted to stand but found he could not. He died before an ambulance could be summoned. After the authorities arrived, a pile of men's clothing was discovered on the bathroom floor. A bloody straight razor and an axe were also discovered. The The coroner had no doubt that both had been used in killing the couple. The motive for the crime was less clear, although the Maggio's safe was found to be open and empty, money placed in other locations in the flat, including a sum discovered beneath Joseph's pillow, was left. The horrific scene ensured that the murders of Joseph and Catherine Maggio were front-page news. Public interest was further aroused when it was learned that the razor used in the crime belonged to Andrew Maggio. He claimed he had taken it home from his barbershop the very evening of the murders in order to repair a small nick in the blade. He was arrested but released for lack of evidence. The axe, it was determined, had belonged to the murdered couple. It was during Andrew's brief time in custody that the case took the first of what would be rumored a number of peculiar turns. Two detectives came across a message scrawled in chalk on the pavement less than a block from where the couple had been murdered. It read, "Mrs. Maggio will sit up tonight just like Mrs. Tony." Rumors began to circulate that the murder had been committed by the same hand that had killed a number of New Orleans grocers 6 years earlier. Some said it was the work of the mafia, and that Mrs. Tony was a reference to the life of Tony Chiambra. In 1911, both he and his wife had been killed by a murderer who had used an axe. 2 weeks after the Maggio murders, baker John Zenka stumbled over a scene not at all dissimilar to that discovered by the bereaved brothers. Early on the morning of 6 June, Zenka arrived with his regular delivery of fresh bread at Boozemer's grocery store, and was surprised to find the storefront dark. Looking through the window, he saw no sign and so walked around the building and knocked on the door. It was opened almost immediately by the Boozemer. His face was covered in blood. Boozemer's mistress, Anna Lowe, was lying in their bed, unable to move. They had both been attacked with an axe. Despite primitive medical treatment, Grocer managed to survive. His mistress was not so lucky. After clinging to life for further 2 months, she died on 5 August, but before claiming that it was Boozemer who had attacked her. The grocer was arrested and after a brief trial, found not guilty. That very same day, shortly after midnight, the attack occurred. The victim was Mrs. Edward Schneider, who awoke to find a dark figure standing over her bed. The intruder attacked her with an axe, hitting her several times in the face. Discovered by her husband, Mrs. Schneider not only survived, but 3 weeks later gave birth to a healthy baby girl. A pattern, it seemed, had been established. A killer wielding an axe was attacking people as they slept. He usually gained access to his victims by chiseling out door panels. On 10 August, an elderly man by the name of Joseph Romano was killed. His niece, Pauline Bruno, reported seeing a dark figure in the house. He turned and fled her room after she had let out a scream. For a time, it almost seemed as if Pauline Bruno's scream had scared off the killer completely. Then, 7 months later, in the early hours in March 1919, the axemen of New Orleans struck again. As in the past, the victims, grocers Charles and Rosie Iglia, and their 2-year-old daughter Mary were attacked as they slept. Mary, asleep in her mother's arms, died instantly from a single blow to the back of the head. Charles struggled with the attacker, but was felled by several blows to the torso. Rosie, too, received wounds primarily to the head. 3 days later, the editor of the Times received a letter from someone who signed himself the Axeman. Describing himself as a spirit and a fell demon from the hottest hell, the correspondent announced that he would strike again at 12:15 earthly time on next Tuesday night, before offering a magnanimous gesture. I'm very fond of jazz music, and I swear by all the devils in the nether regions that every person shall be spared in whose home a jazz band is in full swing at the time I have mentioned. If everyone has been going, well then, so much the better for you people. One thing is certain, and that is that some of those people who do not jazz it on Tuesday night, if there be any, will get the axe. That Tuesday, the bars and restaurants of New Orleans were filled with patrons seeking safety from the self-described fell demon. Even venues not at all known for playing jazz hired musicians for the night. There were no victims that evening. After her recovery, Rose Cortimiglia accused father and son Frank and Rolando Giordano, business of her husband, of her daughter's murder. Some newspaper accounts record that Charles disputed his wife's accusation. Others state that he died of his injuries. Whatever the case, he did not join his wife in testifying at the subsequent trial of the Giordanos. Frank was sentenced to death while Rolando received a life sentence. Is that Iolando? Could be. And yet the incarceration of the Giordanos, like those of Andrew Maggio and Louis Bessemer, did nothing to stop the attacks. The axeman's next victim was another grocer, Steve Boca, who was attacked as he slept on 10 August 1919. Boca survived his wounds. Once again, the assailant used a chisel to gain access to his lodgings. He struck again 3 weeks later, on 3 September, using his axe on a sleeping 19-year-old woman named Sarah Lawman. She later died in the hospital. Miss Lawman had been alone when attacked, but 8 people were home when the next victim, Mike Pepitone, was attacked. One of the 8, Mrs. Pepitone, reported seeing 2 intruders in her house. Her husband could provide no statement. He died shortly after arriving at Charity Hospital. And it was here that the attacks ended. The mystery of the Axemen of New Orleans may never be solved, but there were further events that may provide some indication of the truth. The first took place on 2 December 1919, when Mike Pepitone's widow stepped out of a darkened doorway and shot a man named Joseph Mumphrey. She then waited next to his dead body. When the authorities arrived, Mrs. Pepitone claimed that Mumphrey was one of the 2 men she had seen fleeing her bedroom on the night of her husband's murder. 5 days later, on 7 December, Rosie Cortimiglia retracted her accusation against Frank and Iolando Giordano. They were summarily released from prison. Whether Joseph Mumphrey was the Axeman of New Orleans is a matter of considerable debate. A man with an unenviable criminal record, he had been in during the period between the last axe murder of 1911 and the first of 1918, and again between the murder of Joseph Romano on 10 August 1908 and that of Mary Cortimiglia 7 months later. Mrs. Pepitone herself served 3 years for Mumphrey's murder. She was never able to identify the second man she claimed to have seen on the evening of her husband's murder. It may well be that the axeman was right when he wrote in that infamous letter to the Times, "They have never caught me, and they never will." Let's see how long this one is. This one's quite long. Henry Landrew. Henry Landrew was short and bald, with an unkempt beard and bushy eyebrows. Yet approximately 300 women First World War France saw him as a desirable partner and an object of romance. A Parisian from birth, Henry Desiree Landrew entered the world on 12 April 1869. Hey, Jay! His mother took care of the home, while his father worked keeping the blast furnace alive at the forges de Volcaine, an ironworks located within the city. An intelligent, if unexceptional boy, Landrew attended Catholic school and, in later years, studied engineering. At the age of 18, he was drafted into the military. Here, too, he did well. By the time he was discharged 4 years later, he had achieved the rank of sergeant. To all appearances, Landrew had grown into a respectable, dependable young man who attracted little attention. What little profile he had came from his service as a deacon in his church. He was also a member of the choir. It therefore seemed uncharacteristic when, in 1891, he seduced one of his cousins, Marie Catherine Remy, impregnated her. Later that same year, she gave birth to a daughter. 2 years passed before Landru did the honorable thing and married the mother of his child. Shortly after the marriage, Landru entered the business world as a clerk. As his family began to expand, he was dealt a significant blow when his employer ran off to the United States, taking with him money Landru had provided as a bond. This one appears to have been motivated Landru to act in kind. He established distilling and used furniture, and was soon preying on recently widowed women. Often Landru's victims would enter his shop, hoping to sell furniture in order to supplement the modest pensions left them by their departed husbands. Landru would then encourage these to invest these same pensions, stealing their money in the process. The cons went unnoticed for some time until, in 1900, he was arrested after having attempted to withdraw funds using a false identity. It was the first in a series of 7 convictions. Landru spent the first decade of the 20th century moving in and out of prison. The longest sentence received was from the scheme that began with a matrimonial advertisement he'd placed in the newspaper. Portraying himself as a wealthy widower, he had persuaded one respondent, a 40-year-old widow named Jean Isore, to exchange 15,000 francs for several counterfeit deeds. By the time the law caught up with Landru, the money was long gone. Mme Isori was impoverished. Landru's lawlessness had also taken a toll on his family. His mother died while he was in prison. Landru's father, ashamed of his son's behavior, committed suicide. Landru's wife and 4 children were penniless. By the beginning of 1914, he had become estranged from his wife. Although no divorce was sought, during the tensions leading up to the First World War, Landru was released, yet again from prison. After spending his initial months of freedom drifting around the French countryside, he somehow ended up in a rented villa on the outskirts of Paris. During one trip into the city, he met a very attractive 39-year-old named Jean Couchette. A widow, she was employed in a lingerie shop and had a 16-year-old son named André. Though a romance developed quickly between Couchette and the man she knew as Raymond Diard, the couple hit at least one rough patch. When this occurred, the distraught woman's family accompanied her to meet with the suitor at his villa. Finding he wasn't at home, Couchette's brother-in-law took the opportunity to investigate the swab Diard. He searched the villa and came across a chest containing letters from other women. The family was outraged, but not so Couchette herself. She severed ties with her relatives and with André moved into Diard's villa. In January 1915, the three relocated to a villa in Fenollet, after which the mother and son were never seen again. It is thought that their bodies were incinerated in their new home. Shortly after the Couchettes disappeared, Landru opened a bank account with 5,000 francs, an amount he claimed he had inherited from his late father. He also presented his estranged wife with a gold watch that had once belonged to Jean Couchette. Another lady, Teresa Labaudet-Line, vanished in July 1915. A wealthy Argentine widow, she and Landru had set up house in a lovely new villa shortly before her disappearance. He later returned to collect her furniture. In May, 2 months earlier, as in Frémit, Landru had placed a newspaper advertisement in Paris Legionnaire, widower with 2 children, aged 43, with comfortable income, serious, and moving in good society, desires to meet widow with a view to matrimony. Excuse me. Nearly everything about the advertisement was a lie. Landru was not a widower. He had 4 children. He had no income, and he had no contact with anything that could be described as good society. Even his age was a lie. Landru was in his 46th year. However, while it wasn't true that he desired matrimony, he was most certainly interested in meeting a widow, and he met many. In August 1915, a 51-year-old widow named Marie Angelique Desiree Pelletier disappeared. She was soon followed by a M.M.E. Hyun, M.M.E. Busin, M.M.E. Colomb, M.M.E. Is that Meg? I don't know. Jean and May Pascal. Two victims stand out from the rest. The first, Andre Bebin, was a 19-year-old servant girl who had no money. Why Landreau killed her remains a mystery. It may be that she somehow discovered his secret. So here's a picture of that feller. Charming indeed. The second, Marie-Therese Marchadier, was not a widow. Luc said she did have money. In fact, she had become something of a celebrity during the war as an entertainer for the troops known as Le Métis. Marchadier vanished without trace at about the time of the armistice. With La Belle Métis, Landreau had claimed his 11th murder victim, and still no one suspected him of any wrongdoing. The end of Landreau's killing came about through an unrelated death. Late in 1918, the son of May Busin died. Family attempted to reach the mother, care of M. Fremiet in Gambais, with whom it was thought she had run off. They heard back from the mayor that the town had no M. Fremiet. He suggested that the family might wish to contact the family of May Colomb, another woman who was believed to have gone missing in Gambais. Clearly, Landreau sensed that after all these years, a net was slowly closing. He left Gambais for good, moving in with his 27-year-old mistress in Paris. Authorities arrived to find his villa unoccupied. However, the family of May Busin was not so easily defeated. For months, Buison's sister haunted the streets of the Parisian neighborhood in which she had once been introduced to the mysterious M. Vermiet. On 12 April 1919, her dedication paid off when she spotted her sister's suitor entering a porcelain shop. Finally, the authorities managed to catch up with Landreau. When arrested, he was found to be carrying a notebook containing names and details of 283 women, including nearly all of the widows who had gone missing. Despite the discovery of the notebook, police were unable to charge Landreau with anything more than embezzlement. Simply put, there were no bodies. The properties surrounding his villas in Gambais and Vernolay were dug up, but revealed nothing more than the bones of 2 dogs. Landreau admitted to strangling both at the request of the owner, Marie-Therese Marchadier. A furnace Landreau had installed shortly after moving into Gambais villa provided the damning evidence. It had sat there completely ignored for much of the investigation until neighbors remembered the black smoke and noxious fumes that had on occasion spewed out of the villa's chimney. The bones and teeth found behind the iron door of the furnace finally provided the evidence needed to proceed in charging Landreau with 11 counts of murder. His trial began on 7 November 1921. Arrogant and impudent, Landreau's demeanor in no way supported his defense. He admitted nothing and argued that the prosecution had proved his innocence and claiming him to be a sane man. Despite this, the victims' families and members of the jury presented the court with a petition requesting mercy. This was ignored, and on 30 November 1921, Landreau was sentenced to death. On 25 February 1922, he knelt beneath the blade of a guillotine and was executed. In 1947, 25 years after the end of Henry Landreau, his life was resurrected as the inspiration for the main character of Charlie Chaplin's Monsieur Vedot. Played by the actor, Vedot is a banker who, after having been dismissed, supports his family by marrying and murdering wealthy widows. In 1963, the murderer returned to the screen in a more direct form, a feature film centered on his crimes entitled Landreau. Directed by Claude Chabrol, the movie occasioned a lawsuit from an elderly woman named Fernande Segret, a Parisian mistress to whom Landreau had fled in 1918. Upset by her portrayal in the film, she sought 200,000 francs in damage. She was awarded 10,000 francs in 1965. 3 years later, the 74-year-old woman committed suicide in a very dramatic fashion by jumping into the moat of the Chateau de Flers in Orne. She left behind a note reading, "I still love him, but I'm suffering too greatly. I'm going to unalive myself." Oh my goodness. I don't think we could show these pictures. Everybody went chocolate tonight. I don't even know why they're showing that. It's so weird. Okay, so on that note, boys and girls, we do have to go to our first music break. On this break, we have Miss Mia Savage. For those of you on Twitch and YouTube and Facebook, I'm going to have to kind of mess around with some settings because for some apparent reason, let's see, why does it say that's default? Anyways, for some apparent reason, the music is not going. Let me put this on. I still don't hear it. Stereo audio. Anyways, alright, so we got Miss Mia Savage with her band Antidote for Savages. She hails from Phoenix, Arizona. She'll be in Your Skeleton, Our New Reality, Lemurian Crypto, and Let Me Be Your Home. You guys don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this music break.
That I couldn't take it, no matter how
Welcome back, Weapon Crew. We're going to get back to the world's most evil psychopaths. Horrifying True-Life Cases by John Marlowe. Yeah, there's a doity picture on this page. It's police pictures of Fritz Harman, who is coddled by his mother and disliked by his father. Oy. Here, I'll just turn it like this. That guy. You don't want to see the bottom pictures. Fritz Harman. Fritz Harman recognized the social unrest, hyperinflation, and food shortages experienced by Germany in the years after the First World War, and used them to his advantage. He preyed on runaways and male prostitutes, convicted of having murdered 24 boys and young men. It was more likely that he killed over 50. Together, with his live-in lover, he sold the clothing and meager belongings of his victims in the public market. Yeah, I had to cover that up with my fingers, so you didn't have to see that. Yeah, that definitely get you kicked from somewhere. Full frontal and back nudity. Grotesque nudity. That was not the only profit that Harman made from his killings. He also sold their flesh as steak on the black market. During his time, Harman was known by many names, including the Vampire of Hanover and the Werewolf of Hanover, but history has settled on the most appropriate, the Butcher of Hanover. Frederick Heinrich Karl Harman was born on 25 October 1879 in Hanover. It might be said that during his early life he was something of a stereotype. The youngest of 6 children, he was coddled by his mother and disliked by his father. The young Fritz loved to play with dolls and avoided more masculine pastimes. Although he shunned team sports, he was athletic and excellent in gymnastics. He was attracted to the feminine while demonstrating abhorrence for the masculine. As a young man, one of his brothers was arrested and sentenced for sexual assault. As a teenager, Harman himself got into trouble with the law after molesting a number of children. At the age of 18, after thorough examination, he was sent to an asylum. It wasn't long before he managed to escape. Harman fled to Switzerland, but by the age of 21 had returned to Hanover. Within months, he had married an impregnated woman named Erna Lowert. However, before the birth, Harman had again moved on, deserting his wife to join the army. His role as a soldier proved to be as brief as had been the role of husband. Deemed unsuitable for service, Harman was soon back living with the father he so detested. What followed was a period consisting of smuggling, thievery, and a variety of sexual offenses. Over the next decade, 1 and 3 years was spent in prison. Exactly when he began killing is unknown. The first known incident connecting Harman with Moida occurred in September 1918 when police burst into his apartment. They were looking for a young runaway named Friedel Roth. What they found instead was Harman in bed with a young boy. Although he was arrested and sentenced to 9 months in prison, Harman likely thought that being caught molesting the boy had been a lucky break. In dealing with a pedophilic crime, the authorities neglected the initial purpose of their visit, the investigation of Friedel Roth's disappearance. Had they bothered to search Harman's room, the police would have discovered the runaway boy's severed head wrapped in newspaper behind the stove. Ew, why would you keep that? The threat of imprisonment appears to have had no effect on Harman as he awaited sentencing. He returned to the streets, parks, and squares of Hanover, looking to have sex with boys and young men. Let me just make sure this music isn't too loud. No, it doesn't look too bad. So his favorite spot was the city's main railway station. It had always been a fertile territory. made even more so by the economic upheavals of the First World War and its aftermath. During one visit, sometime around his 40th birthday, in the autumn of 1919, Harmon was approached by a young male prostitute named Hans Grans. It would not be fair to say that Grans was everything Harmon was not, but there certainly was a contrast. The middle-aged Harmon was a pleasant enough-looking man, average in height, with a round face, described as friendly-looking. He wouldn't have stood out in a crowd. Grans, on the other hand, was remarkably handsome, with the chiseled blonde features that would later come to be idealized and exploited by the Nazis. Although Grans was less than half Harmon's age, the two soon became constant lovers and close friends. In March 1920, Harmon finally began the 9th-month sentence stemming from the police raid that had taken place 19 months earlier. Grans spent the remainder of the year roaming about Germany, supporting himself through thievery and prostitution. The two were reunited on Christmas Day and soon thereafter moved into an apartment together. They appeared as two respectable, well-dressed men, all the while stealing laundry from clotheslines. Their ill-gotten gains were sold on the market across from the station which they had first met. Harmon further contributed to the household finances through a disability pension. While the state may have considered him unable to work, Harmon found employment with the local police. This man, whom the authorities had sent to prison the previous year, became one of their most valuable informers. Harmon appeared to have no hesitation when it came to turning people in. As hyperinflation and economic collapse caused turmoil in the lives of their neighbors, Harmon and Grans managed to maintain a comfortable, if modest, lifestyle in their little one-room Neustrasse apartment. Whether Grans knew of his partner's 1918 murder of Friedel Roth is a matter of speculation. What is certain is by early 1923, the prostitute knew his partner to be a moidia. In February, Harmon detained two boys in his favorite train station. The less attractive of the pair he dismissed. The other, Fritz Frank, was made to accompany him to his home. When Grans arrived home later in the day, the body of the dead boy was lying in the room. Gross. Let me turn down this mic just a little bit. It's a little hot. And I forgot to unmute over on Spreaker. Yeah, I saw you were missing for a second. I was like, where'd it go? Alright. From this point, the moitas continued at a frequent and steady pace. Harmon's method had little variation and was extremely effective. On some occasions, he would pick up boys by offering employment or a place to stay. Other incidents would begin with Harmon approaching his victims with the claim that he was a police officer. The latter pretense was used so frequently, and which with such effect that at least one guard at the station thought Harmon was a police detective. Sexual frenzy. The boys would then be taken to Neustrasse' apartment where Harmon would kill them by biting through their throats in a moment of sexual frenzy. Gross. As he preyed on runaways, it was quite some time before the authorities began to suspect that something untoward was taking place. It wasn't until 17 May 1924, when a skull was found by children playing along the Leam, that the fate of missing children and young men began to become apparent. Within the month, 3 more skulls had been discovered along the riverbank. Autopsies indicated that they belonged to young males ranging in age from 12 to 20 years. Following the discovery of a sack filled with human bones, the Leam was dammed and the riverbed inspected by police and municipal workers. Over 500 body parts were found. That's a lot. Harmon, like the whole city of Hanover, was well aware of the investigation. Although he was on the police payroll as an informer, he was among the suspects. In fact, he was investigated in May and again in June, but still he continued to kill. His last known murder took place in June 1924. The victim was a young man named Enrique de Verais, whom he had picked up at the train station with an offer of cigarettes. As many of the disappeared had been lost and last seen at the train station, the site became the focus of the investigation. In June, 2 of the youngest members of the force were sent by train from Berlin to Hanover. By pretending to be homeless, it was hoped that they would come into contact with the killer. The luck that had 6 years earlier prevented the discovery of Friedel Roth's severed head returned to Harmon. At the station, the murderer met with a 15-year-old boy named Karl Fromm, who had once stayed with Harmon and Grans. Irritated by the boy's attitude, Harmon sought to make things difficult by claiming to railway police that the boy was traveling under false papers. Fromm turned the tables on his former host by charging that he had been molested during his stay at the Nostras apartment. As the young police officers waited in the train station, hoping to be approached by the killer, Harmon was arrested. As he was still a suspect in the disappearances, police took the opportunity to search Harmon and Grand's apartment. There they found clothing belonging to many of the missing and murdered boys. While Harmon admitted to having sex with several of the missing boys, he maintained that he had had nothing to do with their disappearances. He insisted that the items of clothing, which numbered in the hundreds, were just a part of his business as a dealer in used clothes. Gradually, however, evidence from other quarters was being gathered. Among those connecting the clothing dealer to the murderers of a boy named Fritz Kohlmeier, who identified Harmon as the police officer who had accompanied him and his friend to a local circus on the evening of the latter's disappearance. Damn the Harmon man. Acts of interrogation, with evidence mounting, Harmon confessed. On 8 July 1924, 15 days after Harmon's arrest, police took Grans into custody. The subsequent trial, beginning on 8 December 1924, was as spectacular as it was bizarre. Harmon conducted his own defense in a casual manner, as if oblivious to the seriousness of the charges. Smiling, he told little jokes, smoked a cigar, and complained about the number of women in the courtroom. As always, Grans appeared in stark contrast. Charged with 2 counts of murder, he was serious and intense. The two men turned on each other, the bitterness escalating after Harmon accused his former lover of taking part in certain murders. When the trial drew to an end 9 days later, both men received death sentences. Yeah, can you believe he confessed? I would have thought he would have just denied. What followed was a twist worthy of de Maupassant. While working one day, a messenger came across a letter lying in a Hanover street. Addressed and ultimately delivered to Albert Grans, the father of Hans, the letter was a lengthy and detailed confession from Fritz Harmon in which he, the butcher of Hanover, revealed that he had framed his former lover. After his father passed the letter on to the authorities, Grans was retried and received a sentence of 12 years. D sentences? Yes, D sentences. On 15 April 1925, Harmon was beheaded. His life and crimes were adapted to the screen in 1973, Ulle Lomel film Die Zärtlichkeit der Wolf, The Tenderness of the Wolves. In 1995, Harmon returned to the screen in Der Todmacher, or The Deathmaker. Starring Gotts George, the script often uses the butcher's own words as recorded in the files of Erich Schultz, one of the psychiatric experts who interviewed Harmon during his last days. But what of Hans Grans? After his relief from prison, he returned to Hanover, where it seems he probably lived out the rest of his life. He is known to have been living in the city as late as the 1970s. Yeah, and the last man, too, he got the guillotine. So I wonder if they had a guillotine for Harmon as well. The next character in this book is Earl Nelson. In Edgar Allan Poe's classic 1841 short story, The Moides, in the Rue Morgue, Detective C. Auguste Dupin is baffled by the strangulation of 2 women in what appears to be an inaccessible room off a street in Paris. his conclusion, the deaths were suffered at the hands of an orangutan, the escaped pet of a French sailor. Earl Nelson's victims were also women, at least 20, murdered in both the United States and Canada. Like Poe's orangutan, Nelson killed with his hands, which was his strength that he earned the moniker the Gorilla Man. It cannot be said that Earl Leonard Nelson ever knew his mother and father. Both died of syphilis within 18 months of his birth, on 12 May 1897. He was raised by his widowed grandmother in San Francisco, the city in which he was born. A devout Pentecostal, Jenny Nelson was described as a distant woman. Much of her time and energy was spent in a constant struggle to maintain a household which included Earl and 2 of her own children. Nelson picked on his grandmother's religious tradition, developing something of an obsession with the Bible. This did nothing to prevent him stealing from shopkeepers or behaving badly at school. He was expelled for the first time at the age of 7. 4 years later, Nelson suffered a horrific accident, which some speculate may have contributed to his actions later in life. Riding a bicycle, he passed in front of a streetcar and was hit. He landed on his head, creating a wound that left him unconscious. It wasn't until 10 days later that he was able to leave his bed. Oh, that's a nice picture. This is an illustration by Aubrey Beardsley for The Murders in the Rue Morgue. Isn't that creepy? Like, look at that. Ew. There's the Holy Bible. Looks like a prison. At the age of 18, Nelson was sentenced to 2 years at San Quentin for burglary. Boygula. He was a boygula. Always a poor student, at 14 years of age, Nelson left school for good. During the same year, his grandmother died and he went to live with his Aunt Lillian and her husband. He began to work but seemed incapable of maintaining employment. Often he would simply wander away from a job, never to return. Although his aunt would later say that he was like a child in this respect, Nelson soon adopted some very adult habits. When he was 15 years old, he began to drink heavily and frequent the brothels of the city's Barbary Coast district. He would go out on binges for days, even weeks at a time. These disappearances, Nelson explained to his aunt and uncle, were simply a result of him looking for work. Indeed, he always managed to contribute financially to the household. However, in the spring of 1915, a partial explanation for their nephew's absences was revealed when Nelson was caught after burgling a cabin in Northern California. At 18, he was sentenced to 2 years in San Quentin prison. His release took place in April 1917, just weeks after the United States entered the First World War. Nelson enlisted under his name at birth, Earl Leonard Farrell, but soon lost interest. Mere weeks after enlisting, he went AWOL. Nelson made his way to Salt Lake City where, rather incredibly, he enlisted in the United States Navy. By May, he was in San Francisco, working as a cook at the Mare Island Naval Base. He again deserted. However, these 2 experiences did not prevent Nelson from enlisting for a 3rd time. As a private in the medical corps, his 3rd attempt at service lasted a total of 6 weeks and ended in desertion. In March 1918, he returned to the Navy. This time, Nelson chose not to desert. Rather, he simply refused to work. The next month, he was placed under observation in the Marine Island Naval Hospital. After 3 weeks, as his 21st birthday approached, Nelson was transferred to the Napa State Mental Hospital. He escaped 3 times from the hospital, a feat that earned him the nickname Houdini. After the 3rd success, instead of attempting to track him down, officials chose simply to let Nelson go. He returned to San Francisco and the home of his Aunt Lillian, who helped him get janitorial work at nearby St. Mary's Hospital. It was there that he met and fell in love with a maternity ward cleaning woman named Mary Martin. A 58-year-old gray-haired spinster, she must have appeared an odd match for the 22-year-old Nelson. On 15 August 1919, the couple wed. As might be anticipated, the marriage was a disaster. When not demanding sex, Nelson preferred to place his wife in the position of maternal figure. Mary struggled to deal with these roles while being exposed to her husband's bizarre habits. He often went days without bathing, yet changed his clothing several times a day. Many of his outfits he made from Mary's old dresses. Invariably, the results were laughable. As the relationship deteriorated, affection was replaced by jealousy. The level of Nelson's rage seemed to increase in the summer following the marriage after he fell from a tree, landing on his head. He suffered a concussion and was hospitalized. It was like twice that he's had head injuries. 2 days later, he fled the hospital, arriving home with a turban of gauze around his head. Mary's brother encouraged her to divorce Nelson, but as a devoted Catholic, she would not hear of it. Before the end of the year, they had moved in with his Aunt Lillian. Back in the house, Nelson resumed some of his old habits, among them disappearing without explanation for days on end. In the spring of 1921, the couple relocated to Palo Alto, where they both found jobs cleaning and maintaining a private girls' school. Within days, Nelson had demonstrated to all concerned that he was unbalanced. After one particularly frightening and violent scene witnessed by the girls eating in the school dining hall, Mary asked her husband to leave their home. The next day, Nelson returned to the school and threatened his wife. He ran off before the police arrived. Now without a job or a home, his marriage for all intents and purposes over Nelson was adrift. Within a few days, on 19 May 1921, he attempted to commit his first murder. The intended victim was a 12-year-old girl named Mary Summers. Nelson had gained access to the Summers home by pretending to be a plumber sent to fix a gas leak. Do plumbers do that? What the heck? Not more than a few minutes into his visit, Nelson's hands were around the girl's neck. Mary Summers' cries quickly brought her 24-year-old brother, who fought the assailant. Although he managed to flee the scene, Nelson was soon captured by police. The next month, he was declared dangerous to be at large and was sent to Napa State Mental Hospital. It was the very same facility from which he had escaped 3 times, the last time only 2 years earlier. Diagnosed as a psychopath, he appeared impervious to treatment. Early in his 3rd year at the hospital, he gave warning that he would soon escape. On 23 November 1923, he did not just do as he promised, showing up in the middle of the night at his Aunt Lillian's house. She gave her nephew some clothing and, arguing that he would be tracked down to the house, urged Nelson on his way. The aunt then called the authorities. Within 2 days of his 4th escape, Nelson had been captured and was back at the hospital. He received a further 16 months of treatment, after which he was released. The date was 13 June 1925, nearly 4 years to the day since he'd been murdered, the moida of Mary Summers. Now 29 years old, a seemingly remorseful Nelson managed to convince his wife Mary to accept him back into her life and home. Although he appeared nonviolent, she still found it difficult to deal with her husband's eccentricities. It must therefore have seemed something of a blessing when he again began to roam. What she couldn't have known was that these absences often brought with them death. The victim of Nelson's first murder was Clara Newman, a 16-year-old spinster who operated several rooming houses in the San Francisco area. On 20 February 1926, he gained entrance to one of the houses by pretending to be a prospective renter. As she showed Nelson an attic room, he attacked, strangling the landlady and raping her corpse. 10 days later, another landlady, Laura Beale, saw a similar fate. The newspapers picked up on the common features of the 2 murders, and on the basis of witness descriptions of the suspects, dubbed the murderer the Dark Strangler. Several months passed without incident. Both police and reporters had assumed that the murderer had left the Bay Area when, on 10 June, he struck again. The victim this time was Lillian St. Mary, a 63-year-old widow who had begun accepting boarders in her expansive San Francisco home. Strangled and raped, her body was found lying on a bed in one of the vacant rooms. 2 weeks later, Nelson killed and raped the proprietress of another rooming house, Ollie Russell. In doing so, he had pulled a cord so tightly around her neck that it had torn through the skin, leaving the mattress bloody. Mrs. Russell's house was located in Santa Barbara, 540 kilometers south of San Francisco. It soon became apparent to authorities that the Dark Strangler was on the move. On 16 August, Nelson murdered Mary Nisbet, who, with her husband, owned a small apartment building. 2 months later, the body of a youngest divorcee, Veda Withers, was discovered stuffed into a trunk in the attic of a boarding house in Portland, Oregon. The very next day, a 59-year-old landlady named Virginia Grant was found behind the basement furnace of one of her buildings. 2 days later, the body of yet another landlady, Mabel Fluke, was discovered. As the city of Portland recoiled in horror, some in San Francisco maintained that the Dark Strangler still walked among them. It seemed that any crime involving the strangulation was being blamed on the monstrous, mysterious killer. In fact, Nelson did return to San Francisco, and on 18 November, murdered a housebound widow. It would be his final killing in the city of his birth. 6 days later, Nelson was in Seattle, 1,300 kilometers to the north, where he killed a moneyed woman by the name of Florence Fidian Monks. Other murders followed: Blanche Myers of Portland, Mrs. John Gerard of Council Bluffs, Iowa, and Bonnie Pace of Kansas City, Missouri. Man, this guy sure got around. That's crazy. Kansas City, Missouri. Perhaps the most inhumane of all Nelson's murders was discovered on 28 December, when Marius Harpin returned from work to his Kansas City home to find both his 28-year-old wife and his 8-month-old son strangled. That is sad. The death toll rises. After lying low for several months, Nelson resumed his activities in April 1927, killing women in Philadelphia, Buffalo, Detroit, and Chicago. By 4 June, the death toll had reached 20, including that of the infant Robert Harpin. All over the United States, the authorities were hunting the man known through the popular press as the Dark Strangler, Jack the Strangler, and the Gorilla Man. Nelson could not escape the accounts of his murders in the press. Perhaps he felt that his luck could not continue. Whatever the reason, on 8 June 1927, he decided to cross the international border north of Noyes, Minnesota, entering Canada at Emerson, Manitoba. Just outside the border town, he was picked up hitchhiking by a motorist bound for Winnipeg, and by late afternoon had rented a room in the home of a woman named Catherine Hill. Uncharacteristically, Nelson let his new landlady be instead of killing her. He spent a good 20 minutes talking about the Bible. 4 days later, hours before the start of what would have been her 14th birthday, the body of Lola Cowan was found beneath the bed in the room that Nelson had rented. The smell of death had led to the discovery. The girl had been dead for nearly 72 hours. The discovery of Lola Cowan's body followed that of another Nelson's victims, a young wife and mother named Emily Patterson, who had been found the previous evening. Winnipeg police and the Manitoba Provincial Police were already looking for the murderer, who they suspected was the Gorilla Man, responsible for the atrocities south of the border. By the time the bodies had been found, the killer had left the city. No doubt, Nelson thought he would be able to continue as he had for the previous 16 months. It took him only a couple of days to reach Regina, 570 kilometers to the west. He arrived before the discovery of the two bodies in Winnipeg. When it broke, 14 June, the news was on the front page of every daily in Western Canada. Excuse me. And was accompanied by a description that was all too accurate. Nelson made his way south, intending to flee into the United States, and on 15 June was caught within 6 kilometers of the border. Nelson was placed in a jail at Killarney, Manitoba. There, the man, who had 4 times escaped from the Napa State Mental Hospital, succeeded in picking the 2 padlocks of his cell door. He managed 9 more hours of freedom before being picked up. There would be no further escapes for the gorilla man. Neither his wife nor his Aunt Lillian could help him this time. Both traveled to Winnipeg, where Nelson stood trial for the murders of Lola Cowan and Emily Patterson. It was hoped that their testimonies would help bolster the argument put forward by the defense that Nelson was not sane. On 13 January 1928, he was hanged by Arthur Ellis, the pseudonym used by the official executioner for the Dominion of Canada. Appropriately, the official cause of death was recorded as death by strangulation. Our next character is known as Peter Curtin. And there's a little note here. Looks like could be a song or a poem or just maybe something this person said. Just you wait a little while, the nasty man in black will come. With his little chopper, he will chop you up. So begins M, the first film by the great German director Fritz Lang. The speaker is a young girl who is playing a schoolyard game. Although she is not seen again in the film, one presumes that she remains quite safe. The same cannot be said for another character, a schoolgirl named Elsie Beckman, who soon falls victim to a serial killer of children. The murderer is portrayed by Peter Lorre, and the character he plays, Hans Burkett, is thought to have been based on a man named Peter Curtin. Lang always denied that he'd used Curtin as a model, and it must be said that there are great differences between the two. The foremost being that Curtin's crimes were so much more horrific than anything that had been portrayed on film. Born 26 May 1883 at Mulheim, Germany, the man who has come to be called the Vampire of Dusseldorf was the third of 13 children. Raised in poverty as a child, Curtin witnessed his alcoholic father's repeated sexual assaults on his mother and at least one of his sisters. He himself suffered through years of vicious beatings by the head of the household. Curtin turned to petty crime and several times attempted to run away from home. Late in life, Curtin claimed that as a child he had actually murdered 2 young friends while swimming in the Rhine, holding each underwater until they drowned. He also claimed to have befriended a local dog catcher, who taught him how to pleasure himself and torture the dogs they caught there. It is thought that during this period he also engaged in bestiality. In 1894, the family moved to Dusseldorf. He continued in his petty thievery and was soon serving the first of what would be a series of 27 short prison sentences. In fact, Curtin would spend most of his life incarcerated in one institution or another. While in custody, he would make a point of committing minor offenses in order to be placed in solitary confinement. Once alone, Curtin would dream of mass murder. He found these fantasies stimulating. For a time beginning in 1899, he lived with a masochistic prostitute who was twice his age. On 25 May 1913, Curtin committed his first provable murder during what would otherwise have been a routine burglary. His victim, a 13-year-old girl named Christine Klein, was strangled and sexually assaulted. She died after Curtin cut open her throat. The next day, he sat drinking in a cafe across the street from the murder scene, reading descriptions in the newspaper, and eavesdropping on the conversations going on about him. In addition to murder and stealing, Curtin had for many years been committing acts of arson. It was the sight of destruction, including that of human life, which excited him to the point of climax. His 1921 marriage had no erotic appeal. He would later say that the union had been made for companionship alone. For many years it seemed that arson and quite likely rape satisfied his desires. This changed suddenly and dramatically on 8 February 1929 when he sexually assaulted and killed an 8-year-old named Rosa Olinger. Found the next day beneath a hedge, the body of the dead girl bore 13 stab wounds. Curtin had doused the corpse with gasoline and set it alight. In fact, that brought him to orgasm. 5 days later, he grabbed a woman off the street and stabbed her 24 times. Incredibly, she survived the assault. Curtin found that visits to the scene of the crime would stimulate him sexually. Freaking weird. The next victim, a 45-year-old mechanic, was killed on 18 February. Curtin had stabbed the man 20 times, including several times to the head. There followed 6 months of what seems to have been inactivity, during which a mentally handicapped man named Rosberg confessed to Curtin's crimes. He was committed to an asylum. On 21 August, Curtin resumed his attacks in dramatic fashion, stabbing 3 people out walking through Dusseldorf, suburb of Lierenfeld. 2 nights later, he came upon 2 girls, 5-year-old Gertrude Hommacher and her 14-year-old foster sister Louise Linsen, walking home from the annual fair in the town of Fley. Curtin asked Louise to get him some cigarettes and sent the girl money in hand back to the fairground. While Louise was away, he strangled Gertrude and cut her throat. When Louise returned from the errand, she was strangled and decapitated. The next day, he propositioned a servant girl named Gertrude Schultz. When she replied that she'd rather die than have sex with him, Curtin stabbed her, saying, "Die then." Schultz survived and was able to provide an accurate description of her assailant. Curtin then inexplicably put down his knife. His next victims were both beaten to death. A young girl named Ida in September and another servant girl, Elizabeth, in October. 2 other women were also beaten both with a hammer but survived. Jeez, so Pete. On 7 November, he abducted a 5-year-old girl named Gertrude Alberman. The 2-day search for the missing girl came to an end after Curtin sent a detailed letter to a local newspaper in which the location of the girl's body was revealed. She had been stabbed 35 times. It would prove to Curtin's final murder. More hammer attacks, none of them fatal, took place during the months of February and March 1930. Then on 14 May, he encountered Maria Budlick, yet another servant girl. She had traveled from Köln to Dusseldorf in search of work. On the railway platform, she met a man who offered to show her the way to the local hostel. As Budlick walked with the man, she was reminded of a newspaper and the stories that she'd read about murders in Dusseldorf and refused to go any further. An argument ensued, only to be broken up by the arrival of another man, Peter Curtin. Budlick accompanied the man she thought of as her rescuer to his home, where she was fed. Curtin then led the girl into the local woods and raped her. Although he had been certain that Budlick would not be able to lead police to his home, within days Curtin realized he'd been wrong. Finding he was under police surveillance, he confessed all his crimes to his wife, urged her to turn him in for the reward money. After reluctance, she had proposed a suicide pact. Curtin's wife agreed. He was arrested on 24 May. So here's the picture of that grotesque individual. While in prison awaiting trial, Curtin relayed details of his life and crimes to German psychologist Karl Berg. With great clarity, the murderer dictated vivid accounts of a total of 79 crimes, which he numbered and presented in chronological order. Berg would later use the interviews as the foundation for his 1932 book on Curtin entitled Der Sadist. In April 1931, Curtin was put on trial for 9 murders and 7 attempted murders. He pleaded not guilty, stating that his confession was only an attempt to secure a lucrative reward for his wife. However, as the trial progressed, he changed his plea to guilty and, as he had with Berg, began to talk openly with great detail about his crimes. And leaves the viewer with an ambiguous ending. Hans Beckert, the lore character, is about to receive his sentence, but the film finishes before it is pronounced. Will Beckert be sentenced to death, or will he be found insane? Peter Curtin's fate is much more clear. Found guilty on the morning of 2 July 1931, he was executed in Köln by guillotine. His final wish was that he might remain alive long enough to hear the blood flowing out of his severed head. You know, you never know, because I heard a rumor that you actually do remain aware for at least like 2 to 3 minutes after having your head decapitated by guillotine? Pretty crazy. I don't know. I want to start this, but then we're going to have to stop and go to music break here in about 5 minutes and then get to our video for the third hour of Creepy Crawly video. And this is a guy I've showed you guys before. I love this guy. I don't know. He just has this, like, innocence about him. I'm not sure. But yeah, on this music break, we have Miss Mia Savage with her band Antidote for Savages. I'm glad I got the sound fixed and the headphones to work. Jeez, oh Pete, that was gnarly. Oops. So she's going to be singing Bury Me in Heaven, Not a Phase, Singing to Your Grave, and bottom line, you guys don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this music break.
giving up. It's just another game you play. Have you had enough of all the silly things I say? Think about it long, but I'll always be here for you. Find another one, they'll never feel like I do. It's all through waiting, don't let this collapse on me. I'll be talking to your girls tonight. I'll be singing to your grave tonight. I'll be waiting, don't let this
fear and love. Just a choice right now between fear and love.
Welcome back, sports fans. Just kidding. Just kidding. All right, welcome back, Wapping crew. I'm glad you guys are here hanging out. I think we got Truzido back there in the corner, being preoccupied, and we got Mr. Adrian Bledsoe. But yeah, so those were some pretty interesting stories. I don't know. People are weird. Seriously. Just make sure all my sound's going here. Looking good, looking good. Okay, I've unmuted everywhere. Just making sure. Sometimes I forget. Forget about it. So, for the third hour, it's time for a creepy video. And staying on the same kind of lines there, I didn't plan it like this, but I just wanted to share this video with you guys because this guy is just super awesome. I don't know, he just seems like he's got this childlike innocence to him, and so he gets some really good stuff when he goes out to investigate. So let me pull this up really quick. Share screen. So I send certain videos to myself that I find. Let's see. All right, you guys ready for this? Good, maybe disturbing. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Just how amazing the amount of evidence that this guy captures. It's pretty intense. And this is by Midwest Ghost Hunter. Please go over there, check him out, subscribe. Like I said, he's super awesome. Well, here we go. Without any further ado.
I set that act for you. Here's your chance. Scare me out of here. I'm not running this time. What is that? Oh my god! I'm not running this time. What the? Oh my god! That almost looks like blood. Oh my god! Who are you? Reverend Kelly? I am currently alone in the most haunted house in the United States. A house where 8 people were slaughtered. And a house I've got a bad feeling I might regret coming to. This is where I'm staying the night. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm feeling a little scared about what can happen here. But I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I don't care what happens. I'm not going to run. I'm going to investigate and try to capture evidence of the paranormal. If you enjoy watching me investigate places like the Villisca Axe Murder House completely alone, it's kind of my thing. I kind of go to haunted places alone. I try to challenge myself to do it. Be sure to subscribe, hit that notification bell. If you like this video, like it, and comment your thoughts on anything that goes down tonight. I've got a feeling something's bound to happen. I've already heard some strange noises just from filming some B-roll earlier. Alright, here goes nothing.
Just the fact that it goes by itself is crazy.
1912, the Moore family of 6 and their 2 house guests were killed in their sleep by an axe murderer. It is said that the assailant hid in the attic until everyone was asleep before going room to room, bludgeoning each victim one by one. Their bodies were discovered following morning with severe head wounds, and the axe left behind in the guest room. A lengthy investigation yielded several suspects, one of whom was tried twice. However, a conviction would never be made, leaving this crime unsolved to this day. It is said that the spirits of the Moore family and Stillinger sisters can still be heard crying out in the night. Balls and other objects have been seen moving by themselves. Cold spots, banging sounds, footsteps, and doors opening and slamming are common occurrences. Blood has even been heard dripping on the floors, and sighted oozing from the walls. The darkest activity includes being scratched, pushed, and even attacked, what many believe to be the ghost of the killer.
It's the Moidia!
Hello? Hello? Is anyone in here? Thank you for letting me in your home. I've got a green light in my hand. Could you move by it? Anyone? Sarah? You cooking anything?
Hey, good looking.
Josiah.
Got cooking.
Sarah. Who murdered you? Say his name for the world to know. This person doesn't deserve to get away with this. What they did was horrible. And I'm so sorry what happened to all of you.
What? They say.
I think I might have just heard something.
It's a guy whispering.
Did you just say something?
A disembodied whisper of what sounds like a man was just picked up on my audio recorder. Could this be the spirit of the father, Josiah?
Alright, I'm gonna try to communicate with the Still sisters. Got some dowsing rods. See if they play with these.
Although I unintentionally held my dowsing rods away from the camera's view, I did receive some compelling responses.
Lena, Ina, are you in here? You don't have to be shy. You don't have to be shy. Whoa. I feel like a cold right here. Where my hand is. Could you point the rod to where you are? Wow.
Over there.
Okay, I can feel you. Feel you. Feel your cold. I feel your cold presence. I don't mean that in any way. That's just how you feel. Is this Lena? If so, could you cross the rods? Is this Ina?
There goes.
Wow. I see you've got a lot of toys. Could you make a toy move? Maybe not that doll. Don't move that doll. That thing freaks me out. If you don't want to do that, you could tap on something. Yeah, like that. Oh. Okay. I got a feeling I'm really communicating with you now. I'm so sorry what happened. I imagine that was scary. Are you in a better place now? They're not moving. Are you trapped here? If so, across the rods. Are you still there? I don't like that she stopped after I asked if she was in a better place. It's like she just didn't want to answer. That makes me feel really sad. Two little girls, and they don't even live here. They just so happen to stay the night. Of all the nights to stay the night. It had to be that one.
Sadness. 12 a.m.
Alright, I'm gonna make my way down to the cellar.
Creepy.
Goes.
Here goes nothing.
Oh man. It's creepy down here. Hello? God, I'm scared something's around this corner. Is there anybody down in this cellar? Hey, axe murderer. Are you down here? This seems like a place fitting for you. Whoa.
Creepy.
What's up there?
Something is walking around.
There's like a creak. Alright, I'm getting a little freaked out more.
That's insane.
It's like a creak in the floorboard.
And he's completely alone.
What? Oh my God. That sounded like children. That literally sounded like children.
This voice emanated through the floor and sounded rather childlike. There were no children in the house whatsoever.
What is that? Oh my God! Oh shit!
Come on, Forrest, run! It's just a ball.
Oh my God! Oh my God! That freaking ball! Dude, it just freaking rolled down the stairs. How the fuck? Would that have happened? Oh my God! That freaked me out so bad. Holy shit! Holy fuck. Oh my god, that ball. It just freaking flew down those stairs. Like how the hell does that happen? I gotta go back in there. I gotta go back in there.
This ball was more than likely in the children's bedroom upstairs. Someone would have had to roll the ball from the room, down the hall, through the master bedroom, and down the stairs.
What is that? Oh my God! What is that?
This evidence is very compelling. However, this was far from the last of my paranormal experiences.
Okay. One step at a time. It's just a ball. I'm so freaked out. There's the ball. Holy shit. How can that happen? Hello? Did somebody just throw this ball? Could you move it again? Oh my God, do I dare look up there?
One a.m.
Herman?
Okay, so he's upstairs at this point, for those of you that can't see
Catherine?
it.
Paul or Boyd? Did one of you love this ball? This ball right here. This ball just rolled down the stairs. And I have a feeling it was one of you that did that. It's okay if you did. I mean, I actually encourage it, really. It kind of freaked me out, but I'm not scared anymore. All right. I'm gonna roll this ball back to you, okay? And when I do, I want you to roll it back to me. Move the ball.
Full-fledged kicking.
Okay, I'm coming in. If you don't mind me visiting. Can someone make a noise?
like the names he said were boy names. Why would there be two girls that aren't a part of the family staying the night? That's weird.
No. I'm not running this time. I'm not running this time. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to scare you guys. God dang. Look. That door's open. Look. Oh my God. Herman, did you open this? Or someone? Could you open it a little more? Anybody, are you in here? Are you in here? Mind if I take a peek? Take a peek?
I actually felt the breeze at the closet door opening behind me. However, I unfortunately did not capture this phenomena on camera.
Alright, little buddy. I don't know who you are and which one you are. But I'll come in here and sit with you. Oh, Jesus. God.
Don't be
Would you
scared.
shut the door? No? I'll do it for you. I'm sorry for freaking out earlier. I didn't mean to get scared. I didn't mean to yell or whatever I did. How many of you are in here right now? Who's in here?
Herman.
Okay. Herman? I'm not scared. Herman? Is this where you like to hang out?
You can easily hear this childlike whisper say, I strongly believe that I was in the company of Herman Moore, who was the eldest child of the family.
Are you still in here? Herman, I've got a green light in my hand. It's like a toy. If you wave your hand by this green light, other lights will glow. It's pretty cool. Whoa! Oh my God! The door just opened! And it was blinking! The EMF was blinking! Holy shit! That was so freaking cool! Thank you so much, Herman. Wow! That just blew my mind. Now I know what a lot of people are going to say. It's going to say, oh, it's just the wind. No, that is not the wind. There is no wind in here at all. This door has been shut all day. And not once has it moved. Until now. And I was up here earlier in the day, walking around, just like I was earlier. And nothing. But suddenly now, it's opening. Twice it did it. And this time I caught it.
The closet door not only but my K2 meter picks up on a spike of energy without explanation. explanation. My other infrared camcorder
Wee
also captures this phenomena.
Honestly, the scariest thing about this room to me is that axe mark is an axe. That was from the killer swinging the axe onto here. Unfortunately, these unfortunate souls. Whoa. What the? Also, turned out weird. Whoa.
See, look at that. That is insane.
What was with that picture? Oh my
That
god.
did not look good. Back to normal.
It's back to normal. What the freak? Look at those pictures again. What the hell? They're all dark and there's like this, I don't even know how to describe it. There's like this, that almost looks like blood. Oh my god. What the hell is with these photos?
You can clearly see that the flash of my digital camera was working properly, yet these two photos took on a dark reddish hue with no explanation.
It kind of looks like
First photo
bodies.
you can see there is nothing otherwise unusual about it. However, in the second photo, two dark masses can clearly be
Man. But anyways, it looks like she was on this side and kind of curled up. I don't know if you can see it. Kind of facing the wall, and it looked like he actually tried to get up. His leg is slung over the edge of the bed. I don't know if you guys see that too, but it'd be interesting to know who was on which side. Just to see if that does line up.
seen covering the pillows, headboard, and blanket of the master bed. What is truly shocking is that they almost appear to be bloodstains, and are positioned exactly where Josiah and Sarah Moore would have been sleeping during the murders.
Oh my god, that is so fucking disturbing. Oh god, it's flashing in my head. Oh fuck, I keep picturing it in my head. I don't want to picture that. Oh my god. I feel like I gotta get the fuck out of here.
My night was far from over. The events about to take place are some of the most terrifying that I have ever witnessed.
You know, for how much activity has been going on tonight, the one person I've not heard a peep from is the killer. Why is
Wait,
that?
buddy.
Why is that? I think I know where you're hiding. I see that the mirrors are covered, and for whatever reason, that is because that is what you did. You covered the mirrors up. Well,
Odd.
maybe we'll let you take a look at yourself. See the monster you really are. There. How do you like that? Like that. Oh God. Imagine something like appeared behind me. That would be worse than Bloody Mary.
Yeah.
Well, you gonna do something? I just uncovered your mirror. What you gonna do? Just as I thought. It came from there. It was like a little thump sound. Do something else. Come on, I know you can do better than that. Okay. Really bad feeling about this.
Go on up there.
Every part of my body is telling me not to go in there. But I have to.
I don't think I could do that by myself.
Oh dear God. I brought you a present. I think you're pretty familiar with what this is. Is this not what you used? I know you're up here. I can feel you. I can feel your presence. Do something. Do that again. Is that all you're gonna do? Oops. Okay, alright. You killed an entire family with this. And the fact that you are here and you're not burning in hell at the moment is a I'm literally holding an axe to a ghost. What the fuck am I doing?
Cut that air.
My heart is racing. Make another sound. Do it. Whoa, what the fuck? Oh my God. Dude, it just rattled my chair.
Messing with you.
Fuck.
Creepy. 3 a.m. The witching hour.
I set that axe up for you. Use your chance. You don't like me? Then why don't you scare me out of here? You've gone quiet up here. I know you're here. Who are you? Reverend Kelly? That's what a lot of people think. A lot of people think you're Reverend Kelly. I feel really strange up here. My head is tingling.
Dude.
And like I just don't feel any fear. It's weird. I feel like I was just creeped out just not even a few moments ago. And now it's like starting to go away. I got a bad feeling something's not right in here. Holy
Stairs.
Although I fled the scene, I ran with this captured on my SD card. An unseen force takes hold of the axe and thrusts it to the floor violently. This experience sent shockwaves of panic through the whole body, as if I were being pursued by a madman. I refused to investigate any further. Although I am ashamed of my reaction, a disturbing question crosses my mind. What would have happened if I would have stayed? Would I have been
looks like you recovered the mirror.
Been attacked? Was coming here alone going too far? Some of these questions I would rather leave unanswered.
Alright, so that was that, boys and girls. Yeah, that guy's pretty cool. Midwest Ghost Hunter. He goes on all these investigations by himself, and I don't know. I don't think I could do it. I don't know, there's safety in numbers. Whether you're doing an investigation or doing a cleansing or whatnot. I learned my lesson. So him and Franco from Franco TV, those guys, man, it's just insane to me how they do this on their own. Yeah, so this coming Saturday, we have Psychic Chris Garcia coming on, Psychic Saturday with Psychic Chris Garcia. We always have a blast doing that. And then story time again, we'll continue on with our book about psychopaths and serial killers. I wish I had a shorter video to show you guys during this last 5 minutes, but unfortunately, like, everything's actually longer than that. I think the shortest I might be able to find is about 10 minutes, but that was about that. That's about all for that. Yeah, this is the book we've been reading. The World's Most Evil Psychopaths, Horrifying True-Life Cases. So we've been working from the origination of psychopaths in the United States and other places, and working our way up. Yeah, pretty harrowing. The next character we're getting into. It was the gorilla killer. Gorilla killer. Carl Pensram. Wow, very intriguing. Yeah, what did you guys think about that? Midwest Ghost Hunter. I don't know, he just cracks me up with how innocent he is and stuff. But make sure you go over there and subscribe to him. I'll look around and see if I can find anything else that might be a bit short to to get us through these last 8 minutes. Last time it just came out wonderfully as far as timing and everything. Let's see. 10 scary videos you should not watch at night. Is that the one? I think that's the one we watched last time. Pretty sure. Christmas is creeping up. You guys been doing your Christmas shopping? I got a little bit done. I got some for Nova and some for Vern. I tried to sign up for the Durango Christmas project, but was a day late and $1 short on that, unfortunately. But yeah, there's other ones. I want to go to Volunteers of America and Salvation Army and talk to them about some programs they have to get the kids hooked up with them snow boots and snow pants and stuff. That way we can actually get them some gifts that they'll enjoy. I know they would love to have those just for playing outside at school. If you don't have snow gear, they won't let you play outside at school when there's a lot of snow and stuff. So hoping to get that hooked up. It's just been hard year, really. Yeah, we watched that one, The Black Angel. Pretty sure we watched that one. Delete that one later. Sanatorium of Death Goes Hunting Alone on YouTube. Yeah, we still even, generally every year at Thanksgiving we'll put up the Christmas tree, but I didn't do that this year. I gotta clean it off, get it all undusted and unspidered. It's been in the garage, and Vern was talking about dipping it in the bathtub, and I'm like, you can't do that. Like, this is like a very expensive Christmas tree, and it's got a speaker attached to it and everything, and you can't put stuff like that in water. It's not good for electronics. And I was mentioning earlier about the 6 coon and potbelly mixed piglets that Mia had given to us. We just got 2 goats given to us, and then we got these 6 coon piglets. They're part coon and Juliana potbelly piglets, and there's 6 of them. And generally, like last time I saw them, they were so little. They were so cute. I think we did a Facebook Live on that. I might have had the camera turned off at that point. They were so cute. But they're white and black spotted, super cute. These pigs, the coon pigs, I believe are Scottish pigs, and they can actually live completely on like grass as feed. And with other pigs, I think you need oats and other things like that, of course. But we've got 90 acres out there that they can just roam about. Jim's got his hands full with those 2 goats because they're trying to eat his grandpa's rose bush. So he's going to have to build a barrier around that. And then I think Kayla said she found a donkey, which we need out there because that's getting closer to like the New Mexico state line, Arbalese, and there's coyotes and mountain lions and stuff out there. So we need a donkey to protect the goats and the piglets. But yeah, they just go wherever they want. Like I said, when we went over there last week to check them out, the mama and the dad and a couple other pigs were in there, but the little piglets are so small they could squeeze out, and they were up above the house just grazing around, and it was just cute to see them following each other, just munching down on the different plant life that they have going on there. Cute little piggies, and they won't get too big. They're a mix, but one of the pigs over there, he's like an orangish color, and he looks just like Chewbacca from Star Wars. It's hilarious. Hilarious. Yeah, I hope your guys' Christmas shopping is going well, and that you're staying well. Like I said earlier, please put out some prayers and positive energy for Mr. Alan Wright. He's not feeling well, and hoping and praying for a speedy recovery for him, and hopefully his wife doesn't get sick too. It's hard when you're, a psychic empath medium healer. Who's going to heal you? I don't know. It was great having him on. It was awesome. I'm glad he came back. I'm glad he found us, because we did start with story time yesterday. And then he went ahead and showed up there the very last minute, which I'm so grateful for, because that would have been 2 nights of story time with you guys, which I don't mind doing, but I'm pretty sure we might have had to jump around on books. Maybe a different book on a different day or whatnot. I don't know. This book's been pretty interesting so far. A lot of moida and bad stuff happening. Bad stuff. These people are psychopaths. It's crazy, I tell you. Crazy. On that note, boys and girls, that is the end of our time this evening. Thank you so much for hanging out with me for story time with me, TessaTNT, as well as watching that video. I hope you liked it. Please go to his page and tune in, subscribe, like his videos. Like, I just like the innocence about him. I don't know, he cracks me up. That guy cracks me up, tell you what. Thank you so much for joining me on We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. It was a pleasure to have you. I hope you guys are all doing well, hanging in there. Thank you to all of our friends on We Are Paradox Media's Facebook, KPNL Radio, Twitter, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, Twitch, YouTube, wherever you're tuning in beyond the Omniverse tonight. I had a wonderful time. Can't wait to do it again next weekend. We got Psychic Chris Garcia on Saturday, and then some more story time. If you guys have any videos that you want to share with me that you'd like me to play, make sure they're at least, I would say, 40 minutes or less, and we'll get in there. Don't forget, you guys, we're all in this together. Together we can make the world a little better. And together, my friends, we are Paradox Media, because without you, there is no us. I hope you guys have an awesome week. Please don't work too hard, and take care of my yous. Nighty night, love and light.